All right, let's get right to it. We're heading into the second half of September. This is your Adisseo and Novak weather. 14-day outlook now from mid-September through the end of the month. And what you're looking at right now is precipitation that has fallen. Now, this is estimated from radar and other sources here across the lower 48 of the United States. Great news for those of you in the Dakotas and portions of Minnesota. We're getting plenty of rain now here over the last couple of weeks in the northern sections of the United States, and then that extends south into the central plains of the United States. And unfortunately, of course, Ida has produced quite a bit of rain over the Gulf Coast, especially Louisiana, and then that extended northeast into the northeastern sections of the U.S. up in New England. Of course, you've all heard about what has happened in New York and Philadelphia and Boston with all the rain out there. So that just tells you the strength of tropical systems as we go through August and September. And then places that don't need the rain they haven't gotten much. This is great news. As you get into Dixie and the Tennessee River Valley, they don't need rain and they haven't gotten much. So that's great news. And where they do need some rain, which would be portions of Iowa and Illinois, it's been still dry over the last couple of weeks, so they need rain in those areas. And I think a lot of these areas that need rain here are going to get it over the next couple of weeks. Here's the change, the class change in drought indexes from the Drought Monitor, the people that do a great job of showing where drought is located across the United States and North America for that matter. But look at this. Where it's been unbelievably dry during the summer months, they are finally getting rain, as I'd mentioned, up in the Dakotas and much of Minnesota, as real good improvements, class improvements have occurred up in those areas. And we do need rain, yes, in portions of Illinois and Indiana because they have been downgraded. They've gone down with class grades as far as drought is concerned, and that would be the same for portions of northern Wisconsin and Minnesota. All in all, though, much of the central and eastern portions of the United States are fine when it comes to soil moisture. And that's great news because some of those areas are going to be dry as we go through the second half of September. Now, when we look at the River Rivera at 30 to 35,000 feet, we call this the jet stream. I just want you to focus on what's happening here as we go through later this week, this weekend now, and then into early next week. As we get into this weekend and early next week, look at the ridge that develops over much of the central and eastern portions of the U.S. It's going to be warm over large sections of the United States here this weekend and early next week. But as we get into the middle and latter portions of next week and then next weekend, look at the significant trough. This is a trough that really means business. It's going to be digging from southern Canada on south towards the deep south of the United States, even almost as far south as the Gulf coastal regions. This means an unsettled, cool weather pattern for much of the United States will dominate about the last week or so of September because of that deep trough. And you can even see that here on the height anomalies. This basically shows you the thicknesses in the atmosphere. And anywhere you see blue, these are lower thicknesses in our atmosphere. And that often means unsettled and cool weather. Now, as I'd mentioned, this coming weekend into early next week, look at how warm or how expansive the heights are in our atmosphere across eastern North America as a trough develops over the western U.S. But then for that last weekend in September, that last weekend, we get this massive, significant trough that dominates much of the central and eastern U.S. So no doubt, big change is coming over the next 14 days across North America as a ridge gives way to a trough over much of the U.S. and southern Canada. As far as precipitation is concerned, this is from Novak Weather now in Adisseo, with an active jet stream across the United States and southern Canada. You can see I'm expecting significant rains now across the Dakotas, Minnesota, and the Great Lakes region. Much of those areas still need rain, so that's good news. Dry in the Canadian plains for the most part. They could use rain there, but I think it's going to be dry second half of September there. And then look at this. The Gulf coastal regions just can't get out of the way of rain as more tropical moisture inundates those areas of the Gulf coastal states. And hey, good news for those of you on the East Coast. I think it's going to be, for the most part, dry the next couple of weeks over there as far as temperatures are concerned. With that trough developing, especially that last 7 or 10 days of September, as that trough develops over North America, you can see I'm expecting Canadian air to seep south, almost as far south as the Gulf coastal states, while a ridge builds over the eastern U.S. that keeps them warm for the most part. And the tropical moisture and clouds will keep the Gulf Coast states cool between now and the end of September. All right, that is your 14-day forecast from Adisseo Novak Weather. Thank you for joining me, everybody. I hope you have a great second half of September. Take care.